Jessica Reed had always dreamed of a life filled with financial freedom and personal achievement. Growing up in a small town in Ohio, she watched her parents struggle to make ends meet. Her father worked long hours at a factory, while her mother took on multiple jobs just to keep food on the table. This environment left a lasting impact on Jessica, shaping her views about money and success. With her ambition bubbling beneath the surface, she constantly sought ways to escape the cycle of scarcity. However, despite her determination, she found herself lost and directionless, unable to map out an effective strategy for her future. Jessica's financial struggles stemmed not only from her upbringing but also from her decisions. Though she worked part-time at a local diner, her spending habits often contradicted her dreams. She frequently splurged on trendy clothes and the latest gadgets, hoping they would improve her self-image and impress others. Yet, with each impulse buy, she felt a growing sense of emptiness, as if she were chasing after an illusion. This conflict between her desires and responsibilities weighed heavily on her, pushing her to a breaking point. Her motivation for change ignited when she stumbled upon a local seminar about strategic thinking and financial literacy. Intrigued but skeptical, she felt compelled to attend. The thought of being surrounded by people who were like-minded and eager for personal growth comforted her. Could this be the beginning of a transformative journey? That lingering question set the stage for dramatic changes in her life. Nevertheless, Jessica knew the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, from self-doubt to the need for discipline. Yet as she embarked on this new endeavor, she discovered something crucial. To achieve financial success, she must first unravel the mysteries of her own mindset. Jessica Reed felt a mix of hope and fear as she left the seminar. Determined to turn her dreams into reality, she took her first steps toward improving her financial situation. The seminar had introduced her to the basics of budgeting and investing, and that knowledge ignited a spark within her. She rushed home that night, excited to get started. Sitting at her small kitchen table, she opened her laptop and began researching different financial strategies. Her focus was intense, and she made notes on the advice of successful experts, like Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman. At first, the ideas seemed simple. Creating a budget seemed straightforward, but putting it into practice was a different story. She gathered her bank statements, bills, and paychecks, preparing to outline a budget that would set her on the right track. But as she attempted to break down her income and expenses, confusion washed over her. Where did all her money go each month? She realized she spent more on dining out than she ever should have, but the thought of giving up her favorite meals left her feeling lost. Moreover, skepticism from her friends added to her early struggle. When Jessica excitedly shared her newfound goals with her best friend, Tara, she faced raised eyebrows. "You really think you can change your financial situation just like that?" Tara asked, half joking but partly serious. A knot tightened in Jessica's stomach at the doubt in her friend's voice. Instead of feeling supported, she felt isolated, as if her dreams were too big to share. This doubt made her question her ability to follow through on her plans. Days turned into weeks, and motivation gradually slipped away. Despite her enthusiasm, Jessica struggled to discipline herself. Sticking to a budget wasn't easy when her friends invited her out. "Just one night won't hurt," she told herself. Each one night disrupted her progress, causing her numbers to go haywire and creating more frustration. The moment she tried to save, temptation would pull her into an old routine. Each small setback chipped away at her confidence, leaving her feeling overwhelmed and hopeless. To make matters worse, she became engrossed in countless articles and videos meant to guide her path. While initially inspiring, the sheer volume of information flooded her mind with caution. Should she focus on saving, investing, or paying off debts first? Each piece of conflicting advice left her paralyzed, spinning in circles rather than moving forward. She missed the momentum she felt after the seminar, now stuck in a whirlwind of choices that felt too big to navigate. However, a glimmer of resilience existed in her struggle. One evening, as her frustration bubbled over, she made a pact with herself. Instead of trying to do it all at once, she decided to slow down and take one step at a time. The following day, she prioritized creating her budget without distractions or the influence of others. After hours of focused work, she finally saw her finances mapped out in front of her. This simple moment became her refreshing breath of hope, a tiny victory in her journey toward financial literacy and independence, invigorating her to keep pushing through the challenges ahead. As Jessica settled into her new budgeting routine, tiny victories brightened her days. Each time she put away a bit of money for savings or resisted the urge to splurge, her confidence grew a little stronger. She was not just tracking her expenses, she was becoming more knowledgeable about her finances. However, little did she know that a significant challenge was on the horizon, one that would truly test her skills. One afternoon, while waiting for her shift to start at the diner, she overheard two coworkers discussing a business opportunity. They talked excitedly about a small online store they wanted to start selling handmade crafts. Jessica listened intently as they outlined their plan to take advantage of social media marketing and direct sales. Curious, she approached them during a break. "Could I join you?" she asked, feeling a thrill of possibility. She had been learning about budgeting and investing, and this might be the perfect chance to put her skills to the test. However, that excitement was quickly overshadowed by her doubts. Starting a business involved money, and she feared risking her savings on an unproven idea. She weighed the security of her current job at the diner, which provided consistent income. On the other hand, the potential rewards of being part of this venture lingered in her mind. Could she trade the safety of her routine for a chance to grow her wealth? That night, Jessica turned to her journal, a safe space for her thoughts. She wanted to sort out her feelings before she made a decision. As she wrote, she acknowledged the fear behind her reluctance. Yes, the venture was risky, but so was sticking to a life where money was always tight. She considered the strategies she'd learned about investing. Every successful investor must take risks to reap rewards. She reminded herself that opportunity often hides behind uncertainty. After a few days of reflection, Jessica confronted her coworkers about the business idea. They met during one of her breaks to discuss details and how much capital they would need to launch the store. The amount seemed reasonable, yet it felt daunting. Secretly, she wished they would bail and save her from having to make a tough choice. But instead, they encouraged her, highlighting her strong social media skills from posting frequently about her life. It inspired Jessica to imagine not just surviving but thriving. Realizing they believed in her potential, she asked to calculate how much she could safely invest without jeopardizing her savings plan. Diving deep into spreadsheets and projections, she approached the numbers logically. A voice urged her to stay cautious, while another one whispered of excitement. After several rounds of calculations, she saw a realistic plan forming. What if she dedicated a small fraction of her savings to test the waters? If the business didn't take off, she would still retain enough to sustain herself. Finally, using that calculated approach she learned during her budgeting efforts, Jessica made her decision. With shaky hands but a steadfast heart, she committed to investing a modest amount to join her coworkers. This small step, while not without risks, felt enormous. With each passing day, she realized she was no longer the girl who shunned challenges. Instead, she was stepping out of her comfort zone, embracing new opportunities. Ready to conquer her fears, she felt a surge of confidence building within her, fueling her belief that change was not just possible, it was within her reach. Just when Jessica began to feel a sense of control over her finances, a storm brewed on the horizon. The small online store she had joined with her coworkers, which felt like a beacon of hope, suddenly faced significant trouble. A few weeks into the launch, they had noticed erratic sales. What started as excitement quickly turned into panic. An unexpected issue arose. Their promotional posts on social media began to receive negative reviews, catching the attention of more skeptics than supporters. Compounded by a sudden change in the market, they started losing money fast. Jessica's heart sank as she reviewed the weekly sales report. The numbers plummeted like a lead balloon, leaving her feeling nauseous. She could feel the heartbeat in her throat as she scrolled down the screen, mesmerized by the red ink glaring back at her. In just a short time, their collective dream was crumbling. The excitement of their venture was swiftly overshadowed by fear and self-doubt. Could her investment vanish just as quickly as it had been made? Would she end up returning to her old patterns of spending and financial insecurity? Over the following days, that deep-seated fear festered and filled her mind with doubt about the decisions she had made. Memories of her past slipped back in, echoing her parents' struggles. What if I let myself down again, she whispered to herself when the uncertainty crept in at night. The urge to retreat to familiar comforts and abandon her new path clawed at her. Old habits whispered insidiously, coaxing her to consider the option of withdrawing her investment. Battling this inner turmoil required immense resilience. She needed to remind herself of her goals, to breathe deeply and approach the situation logically. So, on a particularly challenging evening, Jessica forced herself to sit at her table again. The flickering light from her laptop illuminated the financial reports and notes she'd made along the way. She took a deep breath and began writing down everything she felt, the fear, the confusion, and the anxiety of possibly failing. Once her feelings were out on paper, Jessica tried to approach the situation from a strategic viewpoint. She recalled her seminar's teachings about risk management. If she wanted to succeed in any venture, it required facing challenges head-on. She examined their sales strategies critically. Were they providing value? Were customers having a positive experience? It became apparent they hadn't effectively promoted the unique qualities of their products. With renewed determination, Jessica gathered the team to discuss what went wrong and also brainstorm solutions together. They delved deep into assessing their marketing approach and strategies. Teamwork was key, and the fear of criticism began to dissolve as they engaged openly about their struggles. One idea stood out: they could host a giveaway to re-engage customers, allowing them to experience the products firsthand. But even as she rallied her teammates, nagging worries still lurked in Jessica's mind. What if the changes didn't turn things around? What if her investment faded away like the last vestiges of hope? Despite these doubts clawing at her heart, a flicker of resilience grew. If she didn't take action now, she'd be doubting herself for far longer. So, she took on the challenge and pledged to work hard, knowing that every setback could bring lessons for growth. With each passing day, she prepared to confront her fears with courage, ready to navigate through the storm that now surrounded her. As the days dragged on, Jessica found herself at a breaking point. The small online store, once a source of hope, had become a heavy weight on her shoulders. Sales continued to decline, and the pressure to make meaningful changes pressed down on her like a heavy blanket. With every passing moment, the fear of failure wrapped around her tightly, causing her to doubt everything she had worked for. It was a critical time, not just for the business, but for her personal growth as well. Sitting in her bedroom, long after the rest of her household had fallen asleep, Jessica reflected on her journey thus far. She could have easily returned to her old, safe habits and accepted defeat, but deep down, she knew there was a lesson hidden in this turmoil. Her heart raced as she thought of the money she had invested in the business. It was a small amount in the grand scheme of things, but it represented her leap of faith. Would she let that leap fall flat, or would she pick herself up and learn how to fly? Jessica began mentally reviewing her options. She could choose to pump more money into the business, hoping that fresh investments might revive the boat. But what if that didn't work? She remembered how her fear of loss often governed her choices, leading to hasty decisions in the past. Another option lay in shutting the whole operation down, retreating to the comfort of her job at the diner. But what message would that send to her? It would echo the voice of defeat that had haunted her childhood. With a pen in hand, she made a list of what she had learned: financial strategy, the importance of analysis, and the need for innovative thinking. These valuable lessons stacked against the crumbling walls of fear started to illuminate a path forward. Perhaps rather than running away or pouring in more money, she could innovate instead. Social media held great power, and they needed to leverage their creative strengths to tap into that market effectively. Pacing back and forth, the ideas began to crystallize in her mind. What if they organized a live event showcasing their products? Not only could they connect with their existing customers, but it could also attract new followers. Immediately, she pictured herself helping prepare the store's social media promotions and engaging the community. This plan would require hard work, but it felt much more rewarding than surrendering. However, as the excitement grew, so did the eye of doubt. What if they couldn't pull it off? What if no one showed up at the event? A quiet voice told her it might be easier to retreat to the safety of her past, choosing more comfortable, less risky actions. Yet the spark of initiative that had been lit inside her refused to dim. She recognized this moment as a pivotal shift. This may very well define her financial future. Would she let fear dictate her actions or fight for what she had begun? In that deep recess of her heart, clarity emerged like a ray of light. She remembered all her late nights spent studying financial literature, applying new strategies, and engaging with others who believed in her. Looking into the mirror, she made a promise to herself: she would tackle this challenge head-on. Taking a deep breath, she resolved to act, ready to shift the course of her journey and face this defining moment. The stakes were real, but Jessica discovered that growth often required stepping into the unknown. She was not just investing in a business, she was investing in herself. This deeply felt realization settled a sense of courage in her heart, igniting a fire that would propel her forward. The next morning, a wave of determination washed over Jessica. After a long night of weighing her options and overcoming self-doubt, she knew exactly what she needed to do. She gathered a few key aspects of her business plan in her mind: a live event, social media marketing, and creative promotional strategies. With each step, she felt her confidence firming up. This was the moment where she could truly face her fears and apply everything she had learned. She immediately contacted her coworkers to pitch the idea of hosting a live event. "What if we have a showcase day in the park?" she suggested. "We can invite customers to see our products firsthand and connect with the community." Jessica was surprised by how quickly her enthusiasm sparked theirs. After a brief discussion, her coworkers agreed to the idea, rallying behind the plan. Together, they set a date, choosing a Saturday a few weeks away. The goal was now clear: they would work hard to create a community environment where customers felt welcome and engaged. With weeks to plan, Jessica dove headfirst into the organization. She utilized her newfound knowledge of financial principles to budget everything carefully. Each expense was weighed against the potential return on investment. They allocated a portion of their resources for a colorful banner, free samples to create excitement, and targeted ads on social media. The initial nervousness gave way to an electrifying sense of possibility. For the first time, she felt in control, strategically navigating her course rather than being swept away by emotions. As the days passed and the event drew closer, they launched a marketing campaign to generate buzz. Jessica crafted social media posts that highlighted their unique products and offered sneak peeks of exciting upcoming features for the event. She leveraged her creativity, drawing in potential customers and inviting them to participate. The numbers started to shift, ad engagement climbed, and pre-event buzz grew. Confidence blossomed within her as she saw the community responding with enthusiasm. However, the stakes were still high. Doubt was not far behind, lurking within the corners of her mind. The night before the event, she sat alone, running through worst-case scenarios in her head. What if no one shows up? What if all our hard work goes to waste? With these thoughts battling against her more confident voice, Jessica took a moment for self-reflection. That voice within her soon called out, reminding her of the lessons she had learned: the importance of taking calculated risks, trusting her instincts, and facing challenges with a strategic mindset. The day of the event arrived, and with it, a nervous excitement hung in the air. Setting up their booth, Jessica realized she had forgotten about the importance of teamwork. Her colleagues shot her affirming smiles, and the atmosphere filled with positivity. As the event kicked off, people started to wander into their booth, curiosity sprinkled across their faces. They engaged with the products, made purchases, and filled the space with laughter. The response was beyond what Jessica had anticipated. The live event not only brought in sales but also forged connections with customers, who appreciated the personal touch behind the products. As the day wound down, they gathered to tally their sales. They had exceeded their expectations, turning a hefty profit. More importantly, Jessica recognized the lessons she had gained throughout this process: that she was capable of making smart financial decisions, of working alongside others, and of confidently navigating challenges. This turning point transformed her approach to financial success. Jessica realized wealth was not just about money, it was also about creativity, community, and resilience. The earlier setbacks that had nearly crushed her spirit now became lessons that propelled her growth. No longer did she see challenges as insurmountable walls but as opportunities to adapt and learn. With this newfound perspective, she felt a sense of pride in herself and her accomplishments, paving a brilliant path forward filled with potential. The weeks following the event filled Jessica with an exhilarating mix of accomplishment and reflection. She had never imagined that their hard work would pay off so handsomely. Each evening, she returned to her small apartment, a smile stretched across her face as she recounted the day's achievements. For the first time in a long while, she began to feel the solid grounding of a financial foundation forming beneath her feet. With the profits from the live event, Jessica and her coworkers sat down to evaluate what they had learned. They scheduled regular meetings to refine their business strategies, eager to translate the excitement of one successful day into ongoing momentum. It was an empowering experience, where they carefully reviewed what had worked well and where they could improve. Instead of fearing failure, they embraced it as a stepping stone to further success. Jessica felt a profound sense of satisfaction as she put her newly honed skills to work. Where once lay confusion about budgeting and investing, she now approached her financial planning with discipline and ease. She began searching for helpful financial books and resources to expand her understanding, eager to soak in more knowledge. Each piece of information solidified her belief that success was not just about luck but also about informed decisions and continuous effort. In those quiet moments of reflection, Jessica began to see her earlier struggles in a different light. She remembered how paralyzed by fear she had once been, questioning her ability to change her circumstances. Now, she recognized that setbacks could serve as valuable lessons. Instead of being overwhelmed by obstacles, she started to see them as opportunities for growth. Each challenge she faced had helped shape her into a more resilient and savvy individual. The recurring thoughts about her parents' financial struggles lingered in her mind, but they no longer weighed her down. Instead of a grim reminder of what she could become, they became motivation to break free from the cycle of insecurity. Through her journey, she learned the value of strategic thinking and hard work. More than just aiming for financial success, she felt a pull toward creating a legacy of financial literacy and stability. Jessica also found herself more open to sharing her experiences with others. At her diner job, she found approachability among other young colleagues, willing to engage in casual discussions about saving and budgeting. She shared basic tips she had learned along the way, encouraging her friends to take control of their finances. It felt rewarding to contribute to others' awareness of their financial situations, lifting them from the mindset she had once held. As time passed, she was able to adapt her thinking and incorporate long-term goals that ran deeper than quick gains. She learned about compound interest and investing for the future, visualizing savings grow month by month rather than focusing solely on immediate needs. These changes in perspective made her want to establish an emergency fund and contribute to a retirement account. Nevertheless, challenges still awaited Jessica. Though she had taken great steps forward, she knew this was merely the beginning of her journey. Her heart no longer thudded with self-doubt, instead, it pulsed strongly with ambition and the desire for growth. Wealth stretched beyond money alone, it included the accumulation of knowledge, fulfilling relationships, and contributions to her community. Embedded within that desire fueled her passion to continue refining her strategies and ultimately create the life she had always dreamed of. Just as Jessica began to feel truly in control of her financial future, a new external challenge emerged. A few months after the successful event, she received news that the diner where she worked was facing financial difficulties. The owner announced that he would need to cut hours and possibly lay off staff to keep the business afloat. That familiar knot of anxiety twisted in her stomach. So many of her friends worked there, relying on that paycheck to make ends meet. Instinctively, she felt that old fear gnawing at her. Would she once again have to surrender her dreams to financial instability? Yet, after everything she had learned, Jessica knew her newfound perspective allowed her to handle this situation with a different mindset. Instead of collapsing under pressure, she chose to approach this challenge with confidence, viewing it as another opportunity to put her skills to the test. She took a moment for deep reflection before heading to a meeting with her coworkers. Instead of panicking, Jessica focused on creating a strategic plan. She envisioned how they could collectively confront the issue, drawing on the lessons of cooperation and innovation that they had previously experienced during the live event. Recognizing her role, she did not wait for instructions but proactively suggested what they could do. "Why don't we brainstorm some ideas to bring more customers to the diner?" she proposed to her colleagues during the meeting. Jessica encouraged her coworkers to share creative ideas, and before long, suggestions flowed. Some proposed special discount days or enticing promotions that could draw in new patrons. The enthusiasm in the room kindled sparks of inspiration. Instead of relying solely on thoughts of potential layoffs, the group focused on resilient financial practices and active problem solving. Jessica took on the role of a leader within the team, funneling her knowledge of smart different budgeting techniques and promotions into action. With her strategic thinking, she learned how to price items for discounts while still ensuring profitability. They quickly developed a solid plan to reduce costs on certain ingredients while promoting a meal of the day special that would not only be enticing but budget-friendly. They also leveraged social media to announce the promotions, capitalizing on the community built around the diner, a community she fiercely believed in. What felt wonderfully new was how she was no longer afraid of failure but felt invigorated by the possibility of success. As she practiced these financial principles in a real-world situation, she observed how the calculations and predictions worked in her favor. Even when they faced external pressure, she and her coworkers supported each other. Dealing with the crisis became proof that she had fully integrated her lessons into everyday life. Beyond the immediate challenge, Jessica felt a growing urge to mentor others. She began informally teaching her colleagues about budgeting basics, sharing tips she had once struggled with herself. Whenever a coworker mentioned trouble making ends meet, she offered to help them create their own budgets, sharing strategies that would empower them towards sustainable financial habits. Mentorship was an enriching experience, acting as a source of both accountability and growth, a valuable lesson for both parties involved. As they pushed through this testing time, Jessica was overwhelmed with a sense of fulfillment. Challenges that once seemed daunting transformed into catalysts for growth and change, reinforcing her ongoing commitment to financial stability and wealth-building practices. She learned that success didn't mean going unchallenged but adapting when faced with barriers. Each challenge reinforced the idea that financial literacy could create a positive ripple effect not only in her life but also in the lives of those around her. Jessica could see the foundation of a lasting legacy in the making, where knowledge and support blended together. Ultimately, she realized that no matter what obstacles lay ahead, she possessed the skills, strategies, and tenacity to thrive, turning uncertainty into opportunity one step at a time. As the weeks turned into months after the diner crisis, Jessica realized how much she had transformed. The hard work she put not only stabilized the diner but also flourished her personal growth beyond what she had ever imagined. They had successfully implemented customer specials and promotions, leading to increased sales and a revitalized atmosphere in the diner. Jessica now felt more confident in her role at work, serving not just as a waitress but as a partner in the diner's success. Each day, the teamwork and increased customer flow reminded her of the power of community and collaboration. Beyond their initial challenge, her coworkers embraced a shared vision for their sustaining success. They celebrated the impact they made together, often culminating in shared laughter and stories over shifts, all contributing to the tangible spirit of optimism that permeated the diner. Jessica also took final stock of her own financial situation. Through careful budgeting and strategic planning in the months since the event, she had built a robust savings account, taking her one step closer to her dream of financial independence. Each dollar saved reminded her of her journey. The past, once fraught with uncertainty and mistakes, now echoed with achievement and promise. With this newfound knowledge, she carefully explored investment opportunities. Jessica meticulously researched low-risk investments that could create passive income streams and aptly allocated her savings. She understood that financial success wasn't achieved merely by saving money but also by making it work for her. With patience, she knew that this was the start of the journey toward achieving her long-term goals of stability and freedom. What stood out most was the refinement of her work ethic. Jessica embraced the value of diligence not just as a means to an end but as an intrinsic part of her life. Each completed task, from assisting customers to coordinating with her coworkers, became a source of pride. She learned that working hard could manifest in many forms, whether in contributing to the diner's projects or leading initiatives to promote financial literacy among her friends and colleagues. Over time, Jessica also found herself sharing her journey through her blog, a project born out of a desire to inspire others who faced similar struggles. With relatable anecdotes and practical advice, she encouraged many to break free from cycles of fear and insecurity. Jessica loved connecting with her readers, picturing them learning financial principles along with her. Her story became a testament to the idea that everyone has the power to rewrite their narratives. In moments of reflection, she often contemplated what true financial success meant. Was it wealth, security, or perhaps something deeper? Delivering her insight to her followers, she concluded that success is truly a journey, punctuated by growth and learning. It was about a mindset of resilience, the willingness to adapt and make informed decisions time after time. For Jessica, true financial independence wasn't just about reaching a particular number in her bank account. Rather, it was about confidence, choice, and the ability to live life on her own terms. Each step she had taken transformed her circumstances, allowing her freedom and the ability to achieve her passions. As she gazed into her future, filled with possibility and promise, she recognized the ongoing adventure that awaited her. Each day, she would remind herself, and others, of this key takeaway: financial literacy, hard work, and an adaptable mindset could evolve into a newer and brighter tomorrow. With that optimism lighting her path, she felt prepared to embrace whatever challenges or successes lay ahead, motivated by the growth that comes from perseverance, knowledge, and believing in herself.